Samsung's latest Galaxy S devices are incredibly familiar, and that is something that I'm sure we will discuss when I talk about what worked and what didn't with these phones. But in making phones that are a lot like what we already know, I guess we could look at it like what refinements and changes could actually be made with an established template. So with that in mind, I'm looking at 5 features that make the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra a proper upgrade from last generation, so you can decide if these phones are worth your attention. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Here we are with the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. We'll talk a little bit about the other 2 devices as well, the S25 and the S25 Plus, but of course, this is the star of the show. The obvious question of this and upcoming videos regarding the new Galaxy S devices is if they are worth the upgrade, no matter what phone you might be coming from. Whether you're up for the updates from last year's phone or you're making more of a leap from generations further back, I do have some links in the description below if you're looking to get one of these new smartphones. And if you do decide to use those links, it honestly really helps my channel out, so thank you. Regardless, thank you for coming to hang out with me today on Samsung Galaxy S25 Day, even with all of the other content that I'm sure is coming out. Look forward to more about these new Samsung phones by subscribing to my channel and hitting the like button that should be lighting up right as I'm saying this. And with that, I'm teed up, so let's get started. I'm really liking the design of the Galaxy S25 Ultra. It comes in this titanium build, which you can really feel, especially on the much flatter sides. Oddly enough, when it comes to these flatter sides, it actually reminds me more of the most recent Samsung Galaxy Z Fold device, with just how flat everything is. Only, of course, this one does not open up. It's already a large slab device. If numbers would help paint you more of a word picture, the new Galaxy S25 Ultra actually comes in at 5% smaller all around compared to the S24 Ultra, which might actually make all of the difference in making this a large phone that you can still find comfortable to use on the daily, rather than a big phone that you have to tolerate so that you can reap the rest of the inherent benefits. Of course, some of those benefits include Samsung's signature display, which is still a great canvas for all kinds of work and play. Also, that screen is protected by Gorilla Glass Armor 2, adding to the overall durability of this phone that is framed up by titanium. Now, while the Ultra is made with that titanium material, the other devices, which are obviously smaller, more rounded around, are not going to be made of that, but they still feel really nice, especially this Galaxy S25, which just is like the perfect size if you're really looking for that easy one-handed use. Honestly, it's really light, it's easy to grip because of the flat sides. I like this one a lot. No doubt the smaller phones are still significantly easier when it comes to the handling, which is expected, but I also have to again give the Ultra some props for feeling less like a ballooned version of the S25. All that being said, there are some important upgrades that the Ultra will provide that you just can't get on the S25 or the S25 Plus, the camera being the main one. On the camera front, things are actually really exciting because we now have an updated ultra-wide. Now you have a 200 megapixel main sensor, a 50 megapixel telephoto, and now a 50 megapixel ultra-wide. That's pretty great, especially if you are into that macro photography, because that ultra-wide also has autofocus, allows it to do macro as well. But there are a few other things about the camera that are really interesting now too. Not only the fact that you have HDR 10-bit always turned on, you can turn it off of course, but now there's also log recording. For the longest time, the Samsung phones have been good for photography, good for videography, but sometimes when you want to go a little bit sweatier inside of the editing applications like DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut Pro, you might go to log recording just to get out a little bit more dynamic range and to have control over all of the colors and detail of the video. Now log recording is finally available on the Galaxy devices, the S25 Ultra in particular. While the upgraded macro capabilities are actually kind of appreciated because they'll actually look good, those pictures, and you don't need to get something like a third-party lens to achieve that quality, I'm actually more excited about the better sensor and the autofocus making ultra-wide something I can reliably use for vlogging shots. The front-facing camera might still be okay to use for vlogs, but turning the S25 Ultra around and comfortably doing classic vloggy talking headshots with log recording, mind you, makes this a phone that I might use way more for my kind of work. Besides, I can use a Galaxy Watch to frame things up easily, and I'll probably need to because there is one hardware change that I found which did bum me out a little bit. Got a bit of a scoop for you guys. The S Pen, unfortunately, when it comes to the camera app here in the S25 Ultra, no longer has the air action commands. All of the things like tapping in order to take a picture or doing all of the wand gestures and whatnot, things that I thought were really cool in the previous phones, no longer the S25 Ultra. They did give me a couple of good reasons for it though. Mainly that it wasn't being used nearly as much as they thought it would be, or at all even. It was like 1% or something, because most people use their palms or use any of their wearables. In a way, it kind of makes sense, and it did make it so that they could take out the Bluetooth LE that's in the S Pen. I will say, a little bit disappointing. I can't do that particular demo anymore. One thing I was really pleasantly surprised by was the camera interface. Before going into any of the pro modes, I found that most of the settings that I would want to mess with, like the exposure value slider, can be easily accessed by hitting a button just above the shutter button. If you're doing the rock and roll pinch, for example, the thumb will still be able to reach all of the settings that appear in that bar once you hit that button. Other than that, certain things like the effective megapixel sizes in the photos and the HDR10 or log recording are all on the other side, which kind of makes sense still. At least they're there without having to go full bore into the pro modes. And now here I will get into a little bit of the AI stuff that you might already be familiar with, like the photo editing tools. They are still here, including the ability to erase people and objects from the background when needed. While it already worked pretty well last year, of course Samsung is saying that it has been improved in the S25 and we will test that. What really got me interested is the audio eraser, which is something that I use all the time in my content creation. I mean, right now I'm using voice isolation in DaVinci Resolve to make the audio sound better here, and it's something that I might end up using a lot when I use the S25 Ultra thanks to this new tool. It is designated in the gallery on videos via the usual Galaxy AI stars icon, after which point the editor will give you the option to remove things like ambient noise, crowd noise and other voices, or even your own voice if you wanted to. Rest assured, I will have plenty of other examples to show you or to have you hear when I do my camera tests with the S25 Ultra. What gets me about the audio eraser is that it can work on any video, like videos that are recorded with external mics or videos from other sources. Let's say audio editor is something that is eventually added to the voice recorder app, and maybe the S25 Ultra will then work pretty well for like handheld mic audio or voiceovers. That's just a thought. I mentioned the AI stuff in the gallery, and we're going to get into the other AI stuff throughout the phone, but of course, it all comes together thanks to the processing power of the latest Snapdragon. And true to the new trend between these companies, it is called the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy. It is claimed to be the fastest of the lineup, made specifically for the S25 lineup, and yes, that does include the smaller S25 and S25 Plus. And that's really why I wanted to give it a highlight, because it's still nice that for most people who probably aren't into having like an S Pen or aren't trying to be content creators, the smaller phones still have all of the practicality that those powerful processors and the features they enable provide. And honestly, it's always a good thing to have phones that have probably a better experience in things like gaming. The processor in the S25 Ultra actually will come with an improved cooling system that includes better heat dissipating materials and a bigger vapor chamber. Maybe I don't need all of that craziness for Balatro, but whenever I do finally find the time to get addicted to Zenless Zone Zero again, well, all of that will come in handy. Of course, we have all of the AI talk, especially with the Galaxy S25 Ultra. AI is taking on way more of a role in here, as we have Gemini integrated with the other AI stuff that you might have in the device. With Bixby, sure, you can kind of call it that. They don't really have a name for it. It's the AI agent instead. But by holding the power button, you go straight into Gemini and you can ask it a bunch of stuff that will then pull from other apps, whether they are Google apps or Samsung apps, and be able to do some actions using that. The other thing you can now do is use natural language to get through various places inside of the phone. Like in the gallery, you can literally ask it, find me pictures from Tokyo that I took last year, or find me a bottle of wine that I took a picture of during a winery tour. You can even go into the settings and ask it things there. I want to change what the power button does on my phone. I think this is actually really good because for people who may not know the ins and outs of a full-featured device like the Galaxy S25 Ultra, at least they can go into the settings and legitimately ask the phone to help it use the phone. This AI agent also enables some above and beyond contextual features like song recognition from whatever you might have playing. Imagine you're on the phone and you are watching an Instagram reel that has a song you like, but it's not listed anywhere on the reel. The same actually goes for Smart Select as well, which continues being one of the best ways of making GIFs or GIFs, whatever, I say GIFs, on demand when the one you're thinking of is not in whatever messaging or social media posting app you're using. And finally, Samsung are ensuring that all the information it might understand about you actually becomes useful thanks to the Now Brief and Now Bar. The Now Brief is something that you can look at the moment you wake up, and it'll give you information like the weather and your appointments, as well as contextual info like health tracking stats from wearables that you may have been wearing during sleep. Some of this information, along with other contextual cues, can now be on the lock screen as well with the Now Bar found at the bottom. I suppose we can say this little island will be able to pop up with relevant details and information whenever the need strikes. And of course, the phone will be able to figure out all of your various habits and contextual things that are going on with the device so that it can give you some suggestions as to what routines you can set up or various tasks that you might want to do in the moment. And all of the information that the phone is gleaning from your usage of it is being secured in the Knox portion, the security portion of the chipset, and it's all being just kept on device. Not even Samsung apps have access to all of the data, so it keeps all of your info as private as possible. As with every year, Samsung manages to give me a lot to talk about in releases that do seem very familiar year after year. That's just the way of things. I do think that the updates in the Galaxy S25 Ultra thus far feel like enhancements geared towards power users, like content creators or people that have embraced AI in their daily lives by now, and that's totally okay. What that does leave us with is an opportunity to really think about what an upgrade should look like depending on where you're coming from in the world of smartphones. So in that spirit, let me know what you think about the new Galaxy S smartphones in the comments below, and what phone that you might be currently using. I want you to tell me, do you think it's time for you to upgrade? Sound off in the comments downstairs, and if it is time for you to upgrade, remember to check out the links I have in the description and in the pinned comment below. But with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me again today. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and enjoy your tea, everybody. Whew.